Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Wednesday Call Live. Now let's hear it for our special guest host, Marcus Richardson.
Thank you, Billy. Thank you. We are here live. This is Marcus Richardson. I am married to the lovely Carla Richardson. She is not here. We're taking care of some stuff with our newfound pet. We got a dog, so she's taking care of that. But she would love to be here, but cannot. So we send our love. Carla sends her love and her regards. I'm glad you guys are on today. I'm excited about talking to you today. I'm excited about bringing up the guests. And when they had asked me to do the call last week, it's always an honor and a privilege that Andy and Jane trust us enough to be on a national call. So I want to say thank you to Andy. Thank you to Jane for trusting us enough to be able to speak to the Alliance team. Whenever I have an opportunity to do stuff like this, my number one goal is how can I help? How can we best serve? How can we best serve the team? And so I have some guests on today that will help us serve the team and really dive down deep. And my goal today, if you got brand new people or you've been here with us for a while, is I want to help at every level. And I know one of the number one things that stops people from moving forward or stops people from succeeding in a big way is fear. So what we're going to talk about today, and we're just told my guest on today, we're going to be raw and honest with you. The fears that we've had developing the business, growing the business, personal, and everything is that we do with this business, but how to overcome fear. And it was very, very instrumental to me about this topic specifically because I know we've got people in our agency who struggle with it, or who wrestle with, what are they going to say? Or I'm not going to be able to do this, or what is it going to look? And I want you to try to figure out how to overcome those. So that's what this call is going to be today, to help you overcome some of those fears. But I will tell you, one of my number one fears is not fear of success. One of my number one fears is, what if I am successful at the wrong thing? So we're going to talk about that, how to overcome it. If you got new people on, or they're trying to still get on the call, send out the link, get them on the call, share this with people. I believe this is going to be a blessing to you. I'm hoping it is. And so let's go ahead and get right into it. I'll bring up my first guest. Let me do a little intro real quick. So this young lady has been with us over a little bit over a year. Now, when she got started with us, I didn't know her. I met her by way of a friend of ours, mutual friend, Kyle Stearns. And when they got started, her and her husband, they asked me 1,000,001 questions, which I love because Andy has always taught me that the quality of your questions will determine the quality of your life. And so they were young, sharp, asked real good questions. But here's the thing I love about it is they didn't do it right away, but they did their diligence and they came back and got after it. Now, Valerie Taylor and her husband, Brandion, they won the trip her first full year at the Alliance. She's been with us a little bit over a year, but her first full year, we were in Ireland. Actually, this time last month, we were in Ireland hanging out together, seeing God's green earth. And so I'm going to introduce my guest, Valerie, but let me just share this with you real quick, okay? Valerie, for this year, from January 1 until currently, has sold 153 applications. That's the most apps in my whole organization, for a total of $89,814 of issue paid production. So yes, she won it last year, but she has not let up. She's hitting her stride in her groove. This is my guest, Valerie Taylor. Welcome to the call, Valerie.
Thank you, Marcus. So glad to be here. Glad to be on the TWC. This is going to be great. I'm excited to just kind of share my experience and, just chat with you guys a little bit.
It's great to have you here. So I told him a little bit about the background, but high level, tell them about your family, Brandion, the kids, the boys, and then tell them how you found us. And also, because I think people need to hear this too, what you were doing before you found us and when you switched over, the fear in that, because I know you were giving up a lot. So let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, of course. So my husband, Brandion, and I have two boys, Nathan and Nolan. Nathan will be 9 actually next week, and Nolan will be 2 in June. So they're growing fast. But when we got started, and actually before we got started, you mentioned Kyle. So a family friend, he introduced us to the business April of 2021. So I was pregnant with Nolan at the time, and I was actually studying to get my project management certification, which is not an easy certification to get by any means. So when he approached us about it, I was like, I can't do this right now. I'm pregnant. I'm studying for this. Like, no, this is not the time. Fast forward a little bit. I actually got a great job in project management, a nice title bump, raise, the whole 9 yards. Like, it was going to be great, right? We were like, okay, new baby, new job, new house, like we balling now. So it was really good. But two weeks in the job, my boss, she was on vacation my first 2 weeks, and I got new baby at home, and I was completely stressed out. Like, it just was not what I thought it was going to be. I was miserable. Like, Brandion saw me in tears maybe like 2 or 3 times, I don't know, and he was just like, no, this isn't going to work. We don't have to wait for, something bad to happen. Like, let's take control of your future and make a change. Like, we have options. What is the point of working so hard to make someone else's dream come true when you can work just as hard and have all your own dreams come true? So we were like, okay, let's give Kyle a call back. And that's when we got on the phone with him. We got on the phone with you. We asked all those questions, and, you guys answered our questions, and it was great. So we were like, let me do this. Like, I quit my job. So during my last 2 weeks on the job, I was studying to get my license. I got licensed, and I was very afraid. I was extremely afraid. And I know a lot of this call is supposed to be about fear. And I definitely was feeling afraid. I've always been in the corporate world, and to literally just quit your job and go from, 2 salaries that are above 6 figures to just 1 and then a growing business, it was definitely a scary time for us. So yeah, I mean, I'm glad that Kyle brought the opportunity to us, and that we met you, and that we were able to really, just jump in. But so far it's been great, and, it was hard. It's still hard, but, we're pushing and we're going.
Got it. So let me ask you a question, Valerie. So if I hear you correctly, you gave up a 6-figure income to do this with no guarantees of a 6-figure income.
Yes. It sounds crazy, okay. Right?
That's crazy. All right. So now tell me some of the fears that you had when you got, I guess, certainty, right? We'll call it that. You have every 2 weeks, you're going to get a certain amount of money deposited in the bank account. And if you're giving up 6 figures, I'm assuming it's anywhere from 8 to 10 grand a month that you were giving up working there. That's a guaranteed, what they call guaranteed, saying the quotes, income. To go over to something that had no guarantee. So tell me, and again, what were some of the fears that you had, Valerie, that was like, man, I don't know if I can do this? What are some of the things you thought about? And then tell me how you were able to overcome some of those fears.
Yeah, absolutely. I had tons of fears. I mean, one fear was, oh my God, we got bills to pay. How are we going to continue to live in this house that we just bought just on, 1 salary? Like, we built, our life based on the 2 salaries. So that was for sure one fear. The other fear was, my husband literally putting all this faith in me, believing in me so much, where he's confident that, no, we're going to be okay. I will take majority of the stuff on so that, you can build this business and figure it out. So that was another fear of just, I don't want to be, a disappointment. I don't want to let him down, let our boys down. Like, I want to be able to, live up to these expectations and, be able to provide, as well for the family, right? It's a partnership. So I didn't want it to all fall on him. So that was a fear. I had a fear of, this is something new. Like, I didn't really know anything about life insurance or the industry, financial services. Like, I'm far from it. Like, I was over here more in like, hospitality, customer service, like that type of stuff, not really in financial services. So it just, that was new for me. Like, I never had a problem switching industries and learning something new, but it was still scary just knowing that, it is going to be a learning curve, and I am going to have to take the time to understand the products and know what I'm talking about, so people actually, trust me to write their policy. So that was another fear. But yeah, it's fear is actually, I have 3 responses to fear, right? I think the first is you have to ask yourself, what's the alternative? So for me, it was like, literally, Val, what is the alternative here? Like, you could go get another 9 to 5, sure. In fact, I think I did actually set up an interview and then I changed my mind at the last minute. But getting another job, it wasn't going to be a problem for me. What was going to be the issue was what happens when I get there and it's the same thing all over again. Like, am I really solving the problem here? You know what I mean? Reporting to someone else, not being able to have that time with my family, my newborn baby, like it wasn't going to work. So you have to ask yourself, what is the alternative? Like when you have an agent that's scared to, pick up the phone to dial, what's the alternative? What else are you going to do? Go sit around watching TV? You made an appointment, go to that appointment, knock on that door. What's the alternative? You're going to go back home and tell your husband or your wife you just couldn't do it? Like, why not? Like, just do it. Like, what is the alternative? My second response is, we're not running into buildings trying to, burning buildings trying to save babies. We're not jumping in the line of fire, right? All we're doing is, writing a policy to help someone get coverage. So in sales, that fear is really just a fear of rejection. And the thing with rejection is we have to get over ourselves. These people don't know us personally, so we shouldn't be afraid of them rejecting us. In reality, they're really just rejecting the idea of spending money. So you just kind of need to get around that part. And my answer to that is kill them with kindness. Like when I have someone that, hangs up the phone on me when I'm trying to call them to make an appointment or, close the deal, I'm calling you right back. And I'm going to be even sweeter than I was the first time. Hey, Mr. Dolores, I think we accidentally got disconnected, like just kill them with kindness. People, I think, they find it hard to continue to be an asshole. And excuse me, am I allowed to curse on here?
It's all good. Keep going.
Okay. I think they, when someone is so kind, it's hard to continue to be mean, to that person. Even if it isn't the right time for them to buy insurance, it's not a no, it's a not yet. So I would say that second response is just, get over yourself and realize that fear is just a fear of rejection. And you can kill that with kindness, and it's not personal. Don't take it personal. And then my third response is don't be so afraid that you miss out on someone else's blessing. And I'm going to say it again. Don't be so afraid that you miss out on being someone else's blessing. This is a big deal. Insurance is important. There's so many people out there that need life insurance, don't have it. And if you don't pick up the phone to call them to make an appointment after they filled out a form looking for insurance, or if you don't show up to that appointment because you are so afraid, this could be a family that loses their mom the next day and now has no way to bury her. You know what I mean? So don't let fear grab hold of you so hard that you miss out on blessing someone else's family. I pray every day that my family and I are a blessing to other people. So I lose the right to be afraid.
That is well said, Valerie. Did y'all hear that? Don't be afraid don't be so afraid that you miss out on being a blessing to someone else. And she said, I pray every day that God uses me so I lose the right, right? I lose the right. I no longer have a right to sit at home and not help, and not serve, and not go be a blessing to someone else. And I think that's amazing, Valerie, because when you say that, it just reminds me of every time I look and I think of like things that are happening in people's lives and I watch what's going on. Every time someone prayed, God always answered it by sending a person. So when you go and see somebody, Valerie, or you pick up that phone or you go through the rejection, you literally are the answer. You're the one that God is using to be an answer to someone's prayer. So I love the way that you did that in regards to overcoming fear. And it sounds like to me, Valerie, one of the ways you overcame fear is taking your eyes off yourself and you were others focused instead of Valerie focused. Is that a fair assessment?
That is completely fair. Like when I go into, the business for the day, it's not about me anymore. I have to check my attitude, come with a positive attitude, and realize that I'm not making a sale. I'm helping a family.
Right. Well said. Well said. All right, let's dive a little deeper. This is getting good. We only, 14 minutes in. Let's go. Let's go. All right, so tell us about, I know we have our big events. We just came back from a View from the Edge, but your first event, right? When you went to your first event, were you afraid of that? What were some fears that you had to overcome? And then also tell us about the View and what you're looking forward to in Miami. So I kind of got that all bundled up if you want to tackle that together.
Yeah, of course. So my first event, it was NatCon 2021. So I don't want to say afraid. I was unsure of what to expect. I've been to business conferences before, so I somewhat knew, like, okay, they have keynotes, they have sessions. Like, I got the gist of it. I just didn't know what the vibe and the tone was going to be. So that was new for me, but it was definitely exciting. And I'm so glad that I went. It was well worth the investment. I mean, more than the investment, because of just all the value that I got back. A lot of the times I think with conferences, we tend to think that it's going to be like just some boring lecture, just about this product and that product and just going really into the weeds of insurance. But it's actually more about, self-development and, building a business. And it was everything that I needed to hear. And that's what, we say about conferences. You never know when someone is going to say something that you needed to hear. And so it's amazing. I was there, and the whole time I was thinking, oh my God, I wish Brandon was here. I wish he heard that. Like, I was taking notes. And when I got back home, I was so fired up. Like, I got him fired up and he wasn't even there. So it was such a great thing. And then I actually, from that moment, I told myself, okay, the next conference, I'm going to make sure that I bring him, if not him, at least one person, which I kept that promise because then we went to Denver. What was it, last month? Had a great time. I was able to bring one of our up and coming agents with me as well. And I think he got a lot of value out of A View from the Edge as well. So.
Absolutely. Yeah. Now, next question. Do you have your ticket for Miami?
I do. Brandon and I both have our tickets, and we are working on getting all of our team there. So as of right now, we're hoping to have at least 10, including us. So that's the goal. That's what we're going for.
Nice. I love it. That's good stuff. All right. So let's dig a little deeper, okay? So one of the things that I think is important is we all have fear. So when you got your first, because I remember we talked about this, and you were talking about ordering leads, and you had, you had asked me some questions of uncertainty, and you were like, well, Marcus, should I? Like, how do you know it's going to work? And so talk to them about when you first started getting going in the business and ordering leads. What were some of those fears that you actually had, Valerie? And then tell me again how you overcame it.
The fear of spending money for a piece of paper. I was afraid. Yeah, I did not like the idea of buying leads. And then I was like, I get it. Like, you do have to invest in your business. And even then, it still took me some time to come around. It was baby steps, right? Like, I got a small little GMR going and, doing a couple instant purchases here and there. But no, I have definitely, as I grow more into my own and into this business, I definitely realize like that's something you cannot be afraid to do. And something that I learned recently from another mentor was that, money is a tool. You have to use it. Like, don't be so greedy that you are strangling your dollar. Like, use it to your advantage. And so literally just putting money back into the business is how you're going to see, exponential growth.
Absolutely. And I remember that conversation, and you were like, Marcus, how much should I? And I said, well, depends on where you're at cash flow wise, but here's what I recommend. I recommend starting at around 250. And then you were blessed in the fact that you had a manager that would match you. So that's the other thing, is that when you know that you have a certain amount and then someone's going to invest in you, they believe in you. But when that happened, Valerie, did that also make you want to work a little harder because you didn't want to waste someone else's money? Or what was your thoughts there?
Yeah, no, that's absolutely correct. Knowing that I had, both you and Kyle, helping me out, in that regard, to match me. It's like, okay, these guys believe in me, so I need to also, one, be able to, match what they're willing to put into me. But then two, I'm going to work the heck out of these leads. Like, I'm going to get every last red cent that I can. And not even looking at it like that, but honestly, just making sure that I try and help every single person, for the lead that I get. Absolutely. So I'm the type of person, I'm going to follow up, like, until I get, to the end. Like, we are going to come to Jesus, is this a hard yes or a hard no? Like, which one is it? So no. And as far as like the types of leads, I was working them all. Like I know when you start out, you have your agents start on some older leads because you don't necessarily, you want them to have the volume, and you want them to get comfortable before they move up to some of the more expensive ones. But for me, it didn't matter. I was just like, I don't care if it's an old lead, it's still someone to talk to. So
Absolutely. All right, now the agents got the leads. They hear what Valerie's saying. They see it's working for Valerie. They see it's working for Marcus. Now they're at that point where they're calling the leads. They get appointments. So you also had some fear about the appointments and going to see people. Why don't you share some of your fears there that you had with me? And I don't know if it was a fear, but the concerns that you had. And I know Brandion voiced it on our first conversation. So if you want to share that with some of the people, because I know everybody had, and I just want to try to be as transparent as possible. Tell them what you were concerned about. Like, hey, I booked this appointment. Now what?
Yeah, so his fear was, and he's very protective of me. So his fear was sending me into, just random homes. Being a woman, just especially, in this day and age, you just never know. So that was a fear of ours of, especially when we heard the phrase door knocking, we didn't know exactly what that meant. Like we thought it was just literally like, you walk an entire neighborhood and just door knock, not realizing that it was, door knock the leads that you have. But yeah, so that was his fear for me. And so we ended up putting mace on my keychain and, some other things. But yeah, that was definitely his fear. And then my fear wasn't really the idea of like approaching someone in person or, having the appointment, because I've done sales. I've actually done door-to-door sales, but that was from a business to business standpoint. But with this, it was more so afraid of what I was going to see on the inside of the house. And I'll give you an example. So my very first appointment that I booked, Kyle came to town and he came with me on this appointment. And the side of town we were on wasn't the prettiest. The house that we went to was not the prettiest. And so I was more so afraid of like, oh my God, are we actually going in here? But look, it was only going to end one of two ways, right? I was either going to walk out of there having helped the person and put a policy in place, or I was going to walk out with a great story to tell about my first appointment. So it was a win-win either way. But yeah, it just so happens this guy, he was a vet and he had both of his legs amputated. He didn't want to get out of bed when we walked in the house to come and talk to us. So it was all bad, but it was a great first experience.
Absolutely. And you have had those experiences. And it's funny because I love the way you said it. It's kind of like when you did the first thing, you said the three things that you do when it comes to fear, and you ask, what's the alternative? It sounds like you did that same thing here. I'm either going to make a sale or I'm going to have a great story, or I could have both.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we were already there. It was like, we're going in. Like, we're not turning around for what? Like, no, we're going in.
Got it. Okay. All right. And then my last question, Valerie. Okay. You got a new agent on your team. They're watching this YouTube video of you lighting them up, talking about fear. Everybody deals with it. Everybody wrestles with it. What do you want to say? Let's say you and that new agent are sitting down, getting a cup of coffee, getting some tea or whatever. What would you say to that new agent that's wrestling with fear to help them keep going?
I would tell them, if you really want to see a change, because let's be real, we all get into this because we want something different. Something that we're doing isn't working, hasn't been working, or we want more, whatever it is, you want something a little bit different than what you currently have. And if you want that, you're going to have to do something a little different to get a different result. Like, we all know that, right? So you can't be so afraid that you don't even try. Like, give it a try. That was the biggest part of going into this, because there were definitely times, Marcus, where I wanted to quit, especially my first year in. It was some hard days, driving across Georgia to, have someone not show up, or, to have someone, that they want insurance, but have all these health issues and just can't get approved. So now I done drove over here and I couldn't even help you. Like, right. It happens. Those days happen. And there were definitely times where, I called Brandion and he could hear it all over my voice that I wanted to quit. But luckily I, have him as a support. So he was there to build me up. But those days happen. And I mean, you really have to just, kind of take a step back, know that it's going to happen, but you have to at least give it time to work. So that was our biggest thing, was we have to give it at least a year. You know what I mean? No great business, nothing great is built overnight. It takes time. And so I think, that's what I would tell, any agent, not just my agents, that are afraid of, getting started, is, take it day by day. Don't give up. Find yourself a good support system, whether that's, your spouse, your children, or your upline, or someone else, in the alliance, like whoever it is. Just find that support for yourself, because we all do need that at times, and you will need that going through this. But knowing that you have that is what's going to make it easier each and every day, as you continue to learn and grow.
Absolutely, Valerie. That was well said. Thank you for jumping on those nuggets. I'm going to do the 3 things that you said. For those who are taking notes, I think this is big to write down. Overcoming fear. She said, I asked 3 questions. I go through it 3 ways. Number 1 was, what's the alternative? So I wrote that down as a note. And then number 2 is, I wrote like realistic expectations. That was the example you gave of the firefighter. And then fear of rejection, right? Really, they're just rejecting not necessarily us, or the fact that they don't want to spend any money. Okay. And then number 3 is, I love this one. It says, don't be so afraid that you miss out on being someone else's blessing. So Valerie takes her eyes off of herself and then goes to serve others. And that's how you overcome fears. Am I hearing you correctly, Valerie?
That is absolutely right. And I can't stress that last one enough. Like, I talked with someone yesterday who actually told me that her dad passed out in the kitchen. That was why she had an interest in insurance. And he was gone, like almost gone, for about 15 minutes. And it scared the mess out of her. She has 3 kids, and she was like, she don't want her 3 kids to have to go through that and be wondering, oh my God, did mom have insurance? And so I was just so grateful that I had, even reached out to her to help her. But there's so many more like that.
Right. Thank you, Valerie, for sharing. Those were awesome nuggets. And I am looking forward to us being in New Zealand together. For those who are watching this live, we are going to be in Atlanta, Georgia, next week with Valerie and her agency, doing some training out there in Atlanta on the 10th. You can find that on the ARC. And we're going to be doing some training out there. And then I know Gina is coming out there on the 18th. So Atlanta's blowing up. Valerie and I would love to meet you and pour into you and do some more training in person. We look forward to that. Valerie, I'm looking forward to seeing you and Brandion and the boys, and they offered to treat me to dinner. So I'm looking forward to dinner with you and the boys and Brandion when we get there next week. Thank you for jumping on, Valerie, and keep up the great work. Okay.
Thanks, Marcus.
Yeah, you're welcome. No problem. All right. Now, our next guest, been watching this man grow for 8 years. And then his business exploded and took off when he married his boo. And they have really been killing it. Last year was his first year making 6 figures with the Alliance, and he is on track to do even better than that this year. Actually, he's almost right at the 6-figure mark with us. This is Rory and Ariel Bean. They got a smoking agency. They're growing like crazy out of Colorado Springs, Colorado. And let me just read Rory's numbers to you real quick, because Rory right now is 9th on the leaderboard for Ireland. And check it out. He only needs another 48,000 to win the trip. So Rory's going to keep selling, but he just reminded me he's going to go to all the events. So he's still going to get his bonus points. So we will be in New Zealand together, him and his wife, Ariel. But listen to this. Rory and Ariel, 92 applications for $98,806 of issue paid premium. So if you're doing the math, that's right around $100,000 in 4 months. So Rory and Ariel are selling anywhere from $25,000 to $30,000 a month of issue paid premium. This has been his best year, Ariel's best year yet. So this is my good friend and buddy, Rory Bean. Rory, take it away. And same thing, high level. Tell them about how you met us, how you met your boo thing here at the Alliance, when you guys got married, and just give us some background on Rory, and then we'll dig into how you handle some of your fears. It's on mute. Jack, can you unmute him? Or
there we go. Sorry about that.
Yeah,
so first off, thank you, Andy and Jane, for letting us be on this call. This has been one of those things I've wanted to do since I've been with the Alliance, and this is my first TWC. I'm fired up. Thank you, Marcus, for asking me to be one of the panelists. I appreciate it very much. You have done a lot of plugging into my world since I've known you in the last 9.5 years, actually.
Oh, 9.5.
Time been 9.5 years now, since 2013. You got me to my first conference. So a little bit about me. I was in the Air Force for 9 years. Was planning on retiring military and ended up during the Clinton administration, they did a lot of military cutbacks. I was one of the ones that was cut back. So then I started looking for other jobs. I ran across a position with Forest Service. Worked with Forest Service for 9 years, and then I totally screwed up my knee. Had to find a new career that was not running around the woods, playing in helicopters, playing in fires, and all that sort of stuff. And so I started looking for other careers. I've done welding, I've done construction, I've done car sales, I've done 911 operator, I've done all these different jobs. Just looking for something that was a little more sedentary, that was not going to require me to be walking around all the time. A friend of mine, while I was doing the car sales, introduced me to the Alliance, and that was September, probably the 14th of 2013. I went and saw this one person, one of the most sweetest people in the world. Her name is Diane Lampy. I absolutely love her. Every time I see her, I just get so excited, because had it not been for her plugging into me personally and telling me that I can do this, I probably wouldn't be doing it. She edified me from day one, and it had been the first time that I'd ever been edified ever in my life. I was always told, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do the other thing. And Diane goes and says, you're going to kill this. And I'm like, whoa. So that's my introduction to the Alliance back on September 15th of 2013. Immediately I got my license and started working on, getting going. And then Marcus invited me out to a conference that was going to start in 2 days. And he says, I'll cover your hotel if you show up. I'm like, well, okay. I was in the military long enough that I'm used to being around really weird people. That was one of the weird people, I guess. And I was sitting there all fired up about it. And so here I am looking at, going to this thing. I'm getting an overnight ticket to go see a bunch of people. I have no idea who they are.
Yeah.
And we're going to see what happens. So I went to work on Thursday, worked all day, had a red eye flight Thursday night. Friday, I go to the conference, learn about annuities. And that was the only thing I remember from the whole conference, is that one thing. Didn't sleep but like 4 hours that night. Did it all over again on Saturday. Slept 4 hours on Saturday night. Did it, then flew back Sunday night, and I had to be at work Monday morning. Got back and learned about annuities. And my first policy was on myself. On the first night I got my license. Second one was on my mom, because I was told practice. And it turns out my mom had, retirement plans. I had no idea. One thing led to another, and I ended up writing an annuity, my third policy, and I made $21,000 off of it.
21,000 as a brand new person?
Brand new person. 21,000.
Oh my goodness. Rory. Oh,
actually, $21,817 if you really want to know the number. Not that I remember that, but that was back then. Well, I got really excited about that because I didn't know how much I'd made. One of the guys we work with, Doug Watson, he told me, do you have any idea how much money you made? Like, I don't have a clue. And he says, and he calculated it all out. He says, you just made $21,000. I'm like, whoa. That was more money than I'd ever made in my previous job where I was doing IT recruiting. Not ever, but I mean, in the previous year, after taxes and everything like that, I made like 21,000, in the previous year. So one sale and I made more. So thanks to that conference and not being afraid to go, I just decided, you know what? Marcus has invited me. I've met him a couple of times. He doesn't seem too strange, just a little bit, but that's cool. I went and met him. We went out, And honestly, that first step is what kind of set me in stone. So now my manager at the time was reaching out to me and says, okay, you just made this money. Now you need to invest in yourself. And I'm like, that was kind of scary.
Yes.
I was like, you want me to take this money that I just made and spend it on this business that I know nothing about?
Right.
He says, yep. I'm like, okay. So I allocated myself a paycheck of $1,500 a month. Okay, this is how much I get paid. And so I got to pay for my leads and everything out of this. So I started out small, really small on leads.
Yes.
Basically, that's how I got started in this whole business. Now, you want me to tell you a little more beyond that. So let me see. Been doing this for, like I said, since 13. I married Ariel. We met in the business in 2018. We got married in 21. So June of 21, we got married.
Yes.
It was probably, I'm guessing, around July of 20 when she came up to me and said, it's okay for you to make money. You're worthy. You can do this. And so now I got a second girl that's plugging into me. Diane did it the first time, and now my wife is doing it and telling me that I am worthy of doing this. Well, when she did that, our business has exploded because now I have someone on my team that's encouraging me. So that's kind of how we started. I started out, I made that $21,000. I made a little bit more here and there throughout the year. Not a lot. I was making enough to pay the bills because I did not know that I was allowed to make money. I'd never made money before. I mean, it's like the highest paying job I'd had up to that point was with the Forest Service at $35,000 a year. I'd never made money. I was scared of money. My dad didn't have money. My mom didn't have money. Nobody had money that I knew of. They lived paycheck to paycheck. And I'm like, what's it like to make money? I kind of like it.
Got it. Okay. So take me here. So you said you were scared to make money.
Mm-hmm.
Why were you scared to make money? Because I'm sure there's other people come from a similar background, haven't made more than $40,000 a year. They see people or hear people like yourself making $100,000, $300,000, $500,000, $1 million incomes, and they want that, but they're scared of it. Like, what was some of the fears that you had, Rory, as it pertains to making money?
So honestly, I think it was the 6 inches between my ears. That was what it was.
Yeah.
The fears that I had were all make believe. Everything in my head was messing me up. I mean, it's like, you get told all these things. Money is evil, and you can never make it, and those who make it are jerks. And I get told this growing up my whole life, and so I'm like, I believed everything I was told. Mm-hmm. I was innocent. I didn't know that people that had money. Well, I'd never met anybody that had money until I met Andy. Until I met Diane. Until I met Paul Roberts. I'd never met any of these people before that. And I'm like, I didn't know that, it was okay to make money. Right. I was scared of it because of all the stuff I'd been told all my life. My mom is one of those people that she lives on a scarcity mindset, or she used to. She doesn't so much anymore. She's like, we just live paycheck to paycheck and we let God provide.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I'm okay with God providing. And I'm also okay with God providing in abundance. And that's where we're moving. I like that attitude.
That's right. He's an abundant God.
Right. But it took this business for me to realize that because I didn't know it before.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So tell me, okay, so let's dig a little deeper. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
So we talked about this. I do want you to share a little bit of this, Roy, and then we'll keep going on our fears. So you were at the View from the Edge. You believe in events. Your first event yielded you a $21,000 paycheck. So you've been to every event started.
I've missed one event since fall of 2013, and that's because I had a knee replacement. Doctor said, don't get it on an airplane. That's the only event I've ever missed.
Okay. So I know you believe in them. What would tell me what was your biggest takeaway from the View from the Edge?
Oh, my goodness. So the view was just from Friday to Sunday was amazing. Let me start off with that. My biggest takeaway, though, was listening to Mark Hutchinson talk about the why and digging in. It's like I am guilty of, oh, this is your why. Okay, let's go ahead and help you out with this, this, this. And I'd never dug in as much as Mark did. And I was just like, oh my goodness, everybody needs all the insurance. Everybody. Because that was so incredible. And it was so smooth. It's like, you know what, Terry? I'm not going to talk to you anymore. Tia, tell me, how would this feel to you? Oh my goodness. It just, hairs were standing up on my arms at that point. It was phenomenal.
It was. Now,
that was my biggest.
I love it because that was a big takeaway for me too, Rory. And it's funny because right after he got done, Carla hit me and said, "You need some more life insurance."
I believe
he did a phenomenal job. And we get training like that at all of our seminars. So the next one, you were telling me a little bit about the next one. So we got this July 14th. For people who are watching this before July 14th, tell them where it's at, Rory. And then also tell me how many people you and Ariel are planning on having come to the event and the training with you.
Okay. So we're going to be in Miami. Who doesn't want to go to Miami? Everybody wants to go to Miami, at least if you're from where we're at. And if we want to get to the beach. So we're going to be down in Miami. My wife loves the beach. I don't do the beach, but she loves it. So I'll go. But we're going to be down in Miami. And I don't know what the name of the hotel is or anything. Sorry.
Okay.
But let me see how many people right now. We've got 7 people on our team have already got their tickets. Okay. And we are aiming for 30.
Nice. I love it, man. I love it. All right. So, and then for those who are watching this, you can go to the Alliance Events, it's with the S.com, and you can actually purchase your ticket. It's still at a discount price where you can get that ticket before the price goes up, and you can join us in Miami. But not only that, though, you can get some of the phenomenal training because you heard Rory say, had he have not went to that first event, he would have known nothing about annuities. He learned about annuities at the event, came home, made a sale, and it yielded him $21,000. So a thought that I often think is, what if Rory doesn't invest the money to get there in the plane ticket? What would he have missed out on? Because some people say, I'm giving up $1,000, but he would have missed out on $21,000. So the net yield is $20,000. So had he have not went, he might have missed out on $20,000, but we never know because Rory did go. All right.
Right.
So next one, Rory. All right. So we talked about this a little bit yesterday, but I just want you to, again, we're going to be as open as possible here. When you started ordering leads and you started getting going as a brand new agent, what were some of the fears that you had, Rory? And then how did you overcome some of those fears when it came to, all right, now it's time to call these things. How did you handle it?
Okay. So as I said, I made that annuity money right off the bat. And my manager at the time told me that you need to reinvest in yourself. I'm like, why? I just made the money. I want to go spend it. I'd go buy some.
Right.
You know, I'm trying to help the economy. That's what I'm trying to do. No. So one thing leads to another. And I was like, okay, how much do I have to spend? And so I made a stipend to myself. You know, I says, okay, I'm going to pay myself $1,500 a month. So whatever it is, it has to be less than that because I have to pay all my other bills as well. So I started out, it was like $100 or $200 a week on leads.
Okay.
And I just started there and I'm like, okay, so I'm just investing in myself and I'm getting a few leads every week. And you always getting some older leads. I was getting some newer leads. It was just a mix just because that's what I was told to do. And, you know, had I not been told to go to the conference, I wouldn't have made the money to begin with. So I was like, well, I'm going to listen to what my leaders are telling me to do. Did I want to? No. But I kind of like the 21,000. Okay. So one thing leads to another. And I ended up getting into the whole lead thing. I started up at GMR and, talked to the lead team and just got that set up. And basically I started getting all these leads in and I started calling them and setting up appointments. And, I had done IT recruiting before, so I had a pretty good idea how to talk to people on the phone. I'd been doing it for a while. And I was able to get a lot of appointments right off the phone, which was kind of weird because everybody else is like, they make lots of dials. But I was like filling up my schedule real quick. I'm like, once my schedule was filled, I was good. And I'm like, okay. But I remember one of my first appointments that I went into, that was off of a lead. And I go walking into the kitchen, and it was, up in Boulder area. And I walk in, and I'm like, I don't have any idea what I'm supposed to say. I'm like, I had an ATM. I'd practiced on family. I'd practiced on friends. But I'm like, this is a total stranger. I don't know who this person is. And I'm like, you could just tell I was like nervous as all get out. But I just said, you know what? And I told him, it's like, hey, I'm new at this. I'm sorry. If I screw it up, it's not my fault because I don't know what I'm doing. Okay. But I sat there and I just basically read the ATM to them. They didn't get anything. I'm like, oh crap. What do I do now? So one thing leads to another. And I says, oh, go to the next appointment. It's like, don't quit on one event. So I kept going. Yeah. And I kept investing. And it's like, I'd made the commitment to do the leads. So then I'm like, okay, so I'm calling them. And now I'm like, they're not answering. So I get told, go door knock them. Do what? So I went and door knocked them. You want me to talk to people, so I ended up door knocking these leads, and now I'm starting to make more appointments. And, like I said, I made a little bit more.
Let's go back real quick too, where I got one question. So on the leads, you were good with that because you had done phone sales before at your recruiting job. Mm-hmm. So you weren't too much afraid there. But let me ask you, when you first did your door knocks, were you a little intimidated by that? Were you afraid of that at all?
I was unsure of that.
Okay.
It wasn't a fear thing. I'm not that kind of a person. I don't get scared at that sort of stuff. I talk to everybody. Okay. But it was like, I don't know if this is real. So it did take a little overcoming because, I'm driving around to places and I had no idea what was going on. And I just, because I was taking baby steps, I got better and better and better at it. And I was told, just mess it up a lot and eventually we'll figure it out. And that's exactly, I was like the poster child of screwing things up.
Yes. Now you do a lot of door knocking now, right?
Oh yeah. I get approximately 30 A leads every week. And I'm spending right around, $1,000, $1,200 every week on leads. And not all of them answer the phone. I would say about 20% of them answer the phone.
Okay.
That means I'm door knocking, 20 to 25 leads every week. And I set up appointments. I sit right there. It's like, I have fun doing door knocks. Doing door knocks is just, it's just fun for me now because I get to see all kinds of crazy people and I love it. It's like, you see where they're living. You see what they're thinking.
Absolutely. Now, tell me this, because we did talk about this yesterday. So I don't know if you guys heard what he said. He's spending anywhere from 1,000 to 1,200 a week in leads now. But when he first started, he was around $200 a week. Now, it hasn't all been peaches and cream on the investing in leads. So tell me, like that story you told him yesterday, Roy, that you told me yesterday, I want you to share that with them because I know a lot of people have that same thought of, I did it. It didn't really yield me the results I wanted to. And now you want me to do it again at a higher level. Tell them about that story and kind of how you worked your way through that fear.
Okay. So, oh man, I don't even remember how long ago it was. It was a while ago though. It was before Ariel was in my world. I was doing a lot of work up in Wyoming. I lived in Denver and I was working Interstate 80 across Wyoming, pretty much all the counties on the southern part of Wyoming. And there was a time where there was a bunch of those counties that had all these leads. And there was a deal with the lead team or a president's club or somebody that said, hey, you invest $1,000 and we'll get you a discount on leads and you'll get all these leads in this area. I'm like, okay, that's a lot of money, people. And I'm like, remember, I was living in a scarcity mindset at the time because that's what I grew up in. Okay. And I'm like, $1,000. Okay. If I write 2 policies off of that, I should be good. That was the attitude I went. I'm like, okay, let's do it. So I decided, I dove into it. I start calling up all these people. I set up all these appointments. I end up driving 4 hours one way to get up to all these appointments. So I'm leaving at like, 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning to be able to get up there, at a decent time. So I was trying to get up there by 9. And I get up there and I start doing all these appointments. And I had a lot. I mean, I had a full day's worth of appointments. I went all day long. Not one sale. Not one. And I'm like, ouch, that's a lot of gas. Well, I had appointments set up for the next day too. So now I'm staying in a hotel. I was like, I ended up getting, I want to say it was like 60 some odd leads. There was a lot of leads that I got. And nobody had reached out to these folks. And I just went and I was like, okay. So I stayed at the hotel, paid for the hotel, went out on all my appointments for the next day. Not one sale. I'm like, this is tough. So then I went ahead and went through all my appointments, did door knocking, did what I could, and drove back home with nothing to show for it, except for a phone bill and a hotel bill and a gas bill and all these things. And I'm like, ooh, I don't know if I ever want to do that again. But then they did it again to me. And they said, oh, we got more leads. Let's get you a deal on leads. And this was probably 2 months later. And I'm like, oh, man, that was really rough the last time. But I've made a few sales here and there here in town locally. And, actually for me in town was Cheyenne. I'm like, well, I can afford it. Let's go ahead and do it again.
Okay. So
I did it again. I spent another $1,000. And I was really nervous about doing that. But I did it.
Okay.
And it was a duplicate the first event. 2 days, a hotel, and no sales a second time.
Oh, so you did it twice. You did a goose egg twice.
2 times. And I'm like, oh my goodness. And now I spend that every week.
So how did you overcome that fear? Because once you get burned twice on the stove, typically, third time, you don't ever want to touch it again. So what did you do?
I also know that I wanted more than I had, and I knew you had to invest. There's also been times where I bought leads in that area. I wrote 10 grand in one day. See,
there you go. So track record.
It's like the numbers owed me, And I mean, I went, out there in Rawlins, Wyoming area. Rawlins, okay. Nowhere, Wyoming. And I wrote 10 grand in one day. It was like $9,980 of annual premium, something like that.
We'll give you 10 grand.
That's like 10 grand. It was my best day ever. Okay. Yeah. I bought me a new pair of cowboy boots that week. I wanted to fit in. But yeah, it's like, I know that the money's there. I just have to find it. Okay. And I'm like, okay, these people need help. They've requested it. And it's like, they owe me. The numbers owe me. It's all about the numbers. And if you, do any of the personality tests, I am the beaver. Okay. It's all about the numbers. Okay. Yeah. It's like, you show up on time, you do your numbers, you do it, and they will work out for you. But was I scared to write those checks for $1,000? Oh yeah. But I did it anyway, because I knew that it's all about the numbers.
I'm glad you didn't let fear stop you, because look at what's happening in you and Ariel's life right now. Just imagine if you let fear stop you, what that life would look like. And then we'll wrap with this, Rory. So you're sitting down, same question for Valerie. You're getting a cup of coffee, some tea, whatever, water with your new agent. What's one thing you would want to, they're wrestling with this fear. Like, I want to do this, Rory. I know it works, but what would you say to that one person to inspire them, to motivate them?
Well, I'm trying to remember who said it. I think it was, might have been Tim Goad. Fear, if you think about what is fear, if you look at the acronym FEAR, false evidence appearing real.
Yeah.
I have learned that that's exactly right. It's like you're playing the what if game in your head.
Yeah.
And it's what is going on in between your ears. Who are you listening to? Are you listening to the person who's never done it? Or are you listening to the people who have success doing it? So I'm a firm believer in listening to things outside of my ears now, because I lived in the scarcity mindset for years. And it's when I started listening to Ariel, when I started listening to Diane, when I listened to you, when I listened to Andy, and all these people are plugging into me. You can do it. You can do it. You can do it. It's like, okay. So when I talk to my agents, it's like, you can live in fear, but realize you're playing a what if game that is not real.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's like, if you want to get better, you have to do something different than what you're doing right now.
Yep.
Well, and if you're doing, staying at home watching TV, it's not going to help you. But going to the conferences, going and investing in leads, going and doing whatever it is, that's where you succeed. So plug in, read the right books, listen to the right people, and do the do.
Love it, Rory. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for being a guest. And I appreciate you and Ariel. I appreciate what you're doing. I appreciate how you're growing and just the man you're becoming. I've seen you grow for the last 9 years, and you're definitely a different Rory than you were 9.5 years ago.
True statement.
I'm proud of you. Keep up the great work. Looking forward to watching you guys grow and seeing where God takes us together. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you, Rory.
Looking forward to Ireland.
Yes,
I mean, not Ireland, New Zealand.
New Zealand, for sure.
Yeah.
We're going to be there.
Yep.
All right. And then I'm just going to share a little bit of my heart with the group, and then we'll get out of here. So fear, right? It's real. I remember when I first got started into insurance, and I remember praying and spending a lot of quiet time with God. And here's what I heard. I heard him say, "Come and follow me, and I'll make you fishers of men." And I was like, what does that look like? And so 5 of the 12 of the disciples left their profession and started following Jesus. And I said, there's no way, God, that you're telling me to quit my job. Now, listen to me carefully. I'm not telling anyone to quit their job. I'm telling you my story. Again, Valerie left her job. I'm not telling you to do that. What I'm telling you is my story and how I overcame fear, okay? And so I was praying about it, fasting about it. I was having a real hard time because Carla was at home with the babies. She was not working. She was a stay-at-home mom. And so we were making okay money, about $75,000 a year. We were comfortable, but I just felt like God had a bigger purpose on my life, a bigger call on my life. And I didn't know how to do it at a regular 8 to 5. So I told my dad about it. And my dad said, hey, son, you're praying, you got to obey God. But I want you to know that our ministry can't support your lifestyle, your family, and my family. So I said, all right. So I took the leap of faith. And I asked Carla, I said, babe, here's what I think God is saying to me. And I said, I think he's telling me to leave my job. And she said, are you sure? I said, yeah, this is what I'm hearing. And so we put in our 2-week notice. I'll fast forward that, left there. And when I left there, it became a crazy, crazy time, because as an entrepreneur, what you'll find out is a lot about yourself. When you start doing things where you have to rely solely on faith. It was so cute. Carla, one morning, she woke up and she said, we really do live by faith. I said, yeah. She said, well, what do you mean? I said, what do you mean? She said, because if you don't sell, we don't eat. Every morning you wake up, we don't know how it's going to happen. And so I said, yep, that's right. And so we were walking by faith, doing this, met Andy and Jane, and it has been an incredible ride, but it's really changed my life. So a couple of things that I want to share with you. If I was sitting across the table from you and we were getting coffee and we're talking, I would probably have tea because I don't drink coffee, but we were just talking and I was being as real with you as I could be. Here's what I would like to say to you is that you have fear versus faith. Fear is paralyzing and it stops you from taking action. Faith is courage in action. So you can still be afraid. So like when God told me to leave my job, I was terrified out of my mind. I have a wife and 2 kids, didn't have money in savings. I wasn't well off. I just took a leap of faith. I was terrified out of my mind. When I got my first large order of leads, when Robbie talked me into getting $790 worth of leads, terrified out of my mind. Truth be told, when I did my first door knock on a door, I'm not like Rory. My armpits were sweaty. My hands were sweaty. I was nervous. I didn't know what they were going to say. They could come out the door and shoot us. Like I was freaking out listening to all this crazy stuff, right? But I took action anyway. Sometimes when you're dealing with fear and you're dealing with faith, here's what I know. Okay, if you're taking notes, write this down. Fear and faith come to you the same way. There's a scripture that says in Romans 10, faith comes by hearing and hearing by the word of God. Okay, but it's not. Fear also comes by hearing, and it's hearing the voice of your enemy. Yeah. because the enemy wants to paralyze you and stop you from being big and stop you from being who God called you to be. So fear sounds like this. Marcus, they don't like you. You're black. It's where you're from. No one from where you're from has ever done it like this. And so we all have those fears. But the question is, whose voice are you listening to? Rory said it, but I just want to reiterate it. Whose voice are you listening to? So what I've been working on personally that I think will really help you is this right here. Are you talking to yourself or listening to yourself? Are you talking to yourself or listening to yourself? Because when you listen to yourself, listening to yourself will have you play small. It won't have you invest in leads. It won't have you invest in teams. And also listening to yourself will do what Valerie said. It'll make you look at yourself, how you can't do it. You're never going to do it. They don't like the way you look. They don't like where you're from. They don't like the color of your skin. They don't like your speech. You'll hear all these different voices that are challenging you and trying to really defeat you from being who God called you to be. But faith says, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Faith says that if Andy can do it, I can do it. If Paul can do it, I can do it. If Fitz can do it, I can do it, right? Because faith gives you the ability to believe beyond what you can see. Now faith is the substance of things hoped for. It's the evidence of things not seen. So when you buy leads, you got to walk in faith. When you start making recruiting phone calls and you're building your business, you got to walk in faith. When you sign that lease on a building to take out a lease for an office, when you hire staff, it's going to take faith. And as you grow, your faith muscle begins to grow. So don't allow fear stop you. You don't have to worry about playing small, because the faith that God gives us allows us to be who God said we can be. And then we walk in what God said. So fear, it's false evidence appearing real, but don't let it stop you. So every time you see in the Bible where someone was afraid, God would say, fear not, fear not, fear not, fear not. Don't be afraid. Now, here's why he says fear not. And I just want to encourage you before we get off of here. Remember, this is Marcus. I'm having a cup of coffee with you, and I'm telling you where I'm coming from, okay? Fear is that when God says fear not, he says, fear not, for I am with you. Yeah. So when I show up, it's not just Marcus showing up. When you show up at an appointment, when you show up to make phone calls, when you show up to hire someone and you're going to be a blessing in their life and help change their family and have someone in your agency make a six-figure income and get them off of food stamps and get them off of poverty, get them out of a poverty mindset. It's not just you. It's the God in you that's working, that's allowing you to be able to be a blessing to someone else. But if you keep choosing fear, it will stop you from going out and doing what you were born to do and what you were called to accomplish. So that's the first thing, fear versus faith. Second thing is, don't listen to yourself, but talk to yourself. Affirmations. What are you saying that God is saying? What are you saying that your mentors are saying, that your upline is saying, and how they're encouraging you? That's what helps you overcome fear. And then take action. Take action. Don't listen to yourself. Talk to yourself. And then as you take massive action, everything else begins to fade away. And know this, now unto him who is able to do exceedingly abundantly above more than you can ask or think, according to the power that's at work within you. There's a power that's at work within you that wants to help you do more and help you accomplish more and help you be the person that God said you can be. But in order to do that, you have to continue to walk in faith. Don't let fear stop you. We all have it. You heard Rory, you heard Valerie. We all have it. We all have the same fears. We all have the same things that hit us. We all have the same thoughts about our home, our marriage, the kids. We all have it. But fear becomes a snare to a person. Don't let your fear become a snare to you. Buy more leads. Invest more in what you're doing. Walk by faith. Get counsel. Get mentorship. Come to Miami. Because when you come to Miami, you're going to see that it's not just you who struggles with those things. You're going to see a group of us who have the same struggles, the same fears, but yet we continue to act. We continue to press. We continue to go. We want to see you in Miami. It's July 14th through the 17th. Go on theallianceevents.com. Don't let fear stop you. I remember when I first met Andy, I had only talked to him once, and I went to go see him on a next day plane ticket. I was flying out to Dallas. I had only talked to Robbie twice. I didn't know these people. When I was on my airplane, I started to get afraid. I said, they could be taking advantage of the young black kid. Like, this could be one of those 48-hour, like, he's gone, call somebody, right? But we didn't let fear stop us. And I'm so thankful, because things that are happening now in our life is because we didn't let fear stop us. And we're going to continue to play big. We want you to play big with us. Carla and I want to see you in New Zealand. We want to see you in Miami. We're going to continue to grow. We're going to continue to walk by faith and not by sight. This is Marcus Richardson. I love you, and I would love to see you in Miami and in Atlanta if you're going to be there. Get on the resources tab and see where Andy's going to be. He's flying around tour next week, and we're going to be going out and serving and helping more people with this message of how we overcome poverty, and we do it through faith. Love you. Look forward to seeing you guys. This is Marcus Richardson.
Recording stopped.